Well, hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, What's New with Robot, coming to you from beautiful Eden Prairie, Minnesota, as well as Durango, Colorado, here in the USA. Thanks for joining us. It's time for an update on all things new with the robot product line, and specifically what's changed in the last 6 to 8 months, and a couple of things that are on the horizon. We like to say that Robot never takes a vacation, never calls in sick, and never has a bad day, especially for those of you with a small staff. Having Robot on duty gives you the freedom from wondering if your system is healthy and your end users are relatively happy anyway. My name is Chuck Losinski, and I am the Director of Technical Solutions here at HelpSystems, and I'm also joined today by two friendly faces. Let's start with Tom Huntington. Good morning, Tom.
Thank you, Chuck. Great to be here with you. I'm Tom Huntington, and I just celebrated yesterday my 31st year with HelpSystems. So it's kind of fun knowing that I started when I was 12 and still here, Chuck, working hard. And today I'm also an IBM Power Champion. So if you're having issues with IBM at all, let me know and I'll get you the right people to help solve those problems too.
Thanks, Tom. Good morning,
Thank
Doug.
you.
Hey, first of all, congrats, Tom. Yeah, you look amazing in your 40s. That's fantastic.
Thanks.
Hi, everybody. I'm Doug Mewmaw. I just want to say hi. You guys all know me, so I think I've now been with MPG, now HelpSystems, over just 16 years. So not like Tom, but we're getting there.
Yeah, and Doug, you've been officially adopted into the Robot family. We appreciate all your insight and experience on this platform.
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah, it's fun working with everybody too. So it's great to be here.
All right, Tom, let's just jump into major updates for 2019.
Sounds good. So we're going to go through today a little bit on HelpSystems Insite 3.1 and talk about the newer features with the watch list, the BRMS integration. Believe it or not, we work on BRMS. If you don't know that, surprise, surprise. Been doing that for 2 years here this July. And version 3.1 that's coming of Insight. Then Chuck's going to cover some things on Robot Monitor and take us through all the new features that are in there. There's some pretty exciting things when I look at that list. Top SQL job, Power HA monitoring, and then of course over to Robot Console and some things that are going on with Robot Console and its integration with Insight. We'll talk quite a bit about Insight. So if you don't know about Insight, you really should get to know what Insight's all about. It's free from HelpSystems. I'll say for the most part. There is one piece that costs a little bit, and that's that BRMS integration and Insight Analytics. And then Doug's going to talk Performance Navigator. Became part of the HelpSystems family here last August, and very excited, and many of you use that technology. And of course, Robot Schedule Enterprise. Let's not forget about it and its ability to help you not only schedule IBM I activity, but now and has been for years, reaching out to Windows, Unix, and Linux and allowing you to tame those environments. And then we've also added some additional integration into Automate, which is our RPA product, robotic process automation. I'm sure a household name with amongst many of you, but you may hear your colleagues in the Windows world talk about RPA and that kind of thing, but that's our RPA product. And we'll be talking about some of the newer things with Robot Schedule Enterprise. Okay, Chuck, over to you for that first polling question.
All right, first polling question. Tom mentioned this thing called Insight, HelpSystems Insight, and so we want to know, are you using HelpSystems Insight, and are you using it with any particular product? If you're not familiar with it, you're going to get a little bit more familiar with it today. HelpSystems Insight is a technology that brought Robot Schedule initially to a web interface and a mobile interface. And from there, it expanded to multiple products and product lines. It's supported for Windows and Linux in a browser, connected up to your IBM I server or other servers, depending on the technology that you want to have represented in Insight. Insight is a web interface that basically consolidates multiple user interfaces into a single pane of glass.
You know, Chuck, and I think about this, I think about all the modernization projects that people are doing, but they're forgetting about themselves. And if you're still using green screens, you need to jump on the bandwagon and start using modernized interfaces like Insight. That's kind of why we've been going that route.
Yeah, exactly. So I've shared up the results of the poll, and we've got a
Oh,
skosh on the robot schedule side, and many of you have never heard of it. So,
76%. Oh my gosh. And we
so
have some marketing people with us from Help Systems. So
you do.
right now you got them cringing, guys. So good job out there. We love feedback like this from our
Yes,
customers. All right.
absolutely. All right, so here's what our agenda looks like. 7.4 updates. We're going to jump into Robot Console. We'll do watch lists, Robot Monitor enhancements, and then Performance Navigator. Tom.
Thanks, Chuck. So just to step back a little bit, what does Help Systems do around the IBMI platform? Well, of course, backup and HA. We did bring into the suite of family a product called Robot HA. We've been for years doing Robot Save. We now work on BRMS. Document management, we've done report management over the years, but Help Systems also has the WebDoc solution, which is doing document management, spool file management, plus PDFs and all those other things. Cybersecurity, of course, we've been doing that. A lot of our activity starts with our free cybersecurity scan on IBMI. We also do that for AIX and Linux, and of course the PowerTech brand of products. And then monitoring and alerting. Chuck's going to talk a lot about, Robot Console, Robot Monitor, those things. Doug's going to talk about capacity planning and what we do in that space. And of course, we're very well known for our automation on IBMI with the Robot Schedule product, but don't forget that Robot Schedule can reach out to the rest of the enterprise, or we have enterprise scheduling solutions like JAMS and Automate Schedule. And then on top of there, we have business intelligence, and we've been doing that for years with SQL, Showcase, and now Insight Analytics. When we look into the robot family of products, some of the changes that you'll see here, we've already talked about Robot Schedule Enterprise. We do have some great integration with Automate, so we can do the robot replay for Windows type of thing if you've been looking for that. We have a product called Automate, and it is integrated with Robot Schedule Enterprise with version 11 now, which is something new that started back in March. High availability, we already pointed out Robot HA in the mix. We've had some great success in replacing some of the incumbent solutions, and then of course some net new where customers couldn't afford existing solutions. We come in with a nice price point with Robot HA. Then we get into Robot Monitor. Chuck's going to cover that a bit. That'll make, when you see it, you'll understand why there's value in that technology and what it does for you. Capacity planning, Doug's going to take us in and show us some things on Performance Navigator and how you can use it to help size that next IBMI upgrade, or you can use it for troubleshooting if you're having any kind of performance issues. You want to know what's changed, what did we do differently. That's really good for that. All right, we can move on. Robot reports, we talked a little bit about that. So some things about IBMI 7.4. When did IBMI 7.4 start shipping in the market? I've been asking customers that, and nobody seems to know. June 21st, last Friday.
That's Friday.
So 7.4 came out. It's a big deal to us at Help Systems because we have to make sure our software works on that. What does that mean to you? 11 brands with all the different acquisitions, but 86 individual products we've gone through and made sure that they're available and ready for you to consume on IBMI 7.4. Along the way, we're also part of the IBM partnership on PowerHA, BRMS, and RDI. So we work on those three products and making sure they're available, but it also gives us access well in advance to that operating system because of our relationship with IBM. And we've done over 1,000 test cases, making sure that we can install, upgrade, do whatever else we need to do. So we want to make sure that we're ready and compatible with 7.4. If you have any questions along this area, give us a call and we will help you out. Keep in mind, we've done a ton of testing. If you find something, just let us know and we'll get it fixed. But it's, the other side of it is we found IBMI 7.4 to be a very solid release. And there's some great, I just tweeted yesterday about a nice website you can go to see all the new features in 7.4.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Thanks, Tom. Any
welcome.
questions on that? Feel free to send in some questions. Tom will be happy to field those toward the end of the presentation today. So let's jump into Help Systems Insight, and specifically we're gonna focus a little bit on robot. So first of all, what is Insight? So Insight is a product that is free to our current customers. And it's especially important on the IBMI side of the equation because it also helps you keep your PowerTech robot and SQL products up to date. All right, so it's a single web-based and mobile dashboard for the products supported in it. Okay, so you can create dashboards. We've also got specific functionality for products that are supported in Insight, such as Robot Schedule, Robot Network, Automate Schedule, etc. And with the image that you see in the background, this is actually our deployment tool. And the deployment tool tells you, with an indicator, what products across your various partitions that need to be updated in PowerTech Robot and SQL. So this is really good, especially for those folks that have multiple partitions or a lot of products installed on one or two partitions. They can easily get those products installed or updated in just a couple of clicks. Really fantastic technology. Okay, that's called the Deployment Manager. Okay. This interface, the Insight interface, is also our mobile and browser-based tool. So this is an operator interface, for instance, to Robot Schedule. So if you're a Robot Schedule customer and you use the Schedule Activity Monitor now in the graphical interface, you could go into Robot Schedule and dive into the Schedule Activity Monitor to see those jobs that have completed or possibly failed. Maybe you got notified that they got failed, and now you want to know, well, how do the jobs relate to one another? So literally with 2 clicks, you can build out a job flow diagram, and it takes just seconds. All right. Now, some new technology that's coming to Insight shortly, and this could be just a matter of a week or two, but we're just going to call it Summer 2019, and this is Robot Console. So if you're a Robot Console customer, we have brought Robot Console into Insight, and specifically in 2 ways. We've brought the Robot Console Message Center as well as the Robot Console Resource Monitoring. All right, so you can see the status of your resource monitors. So for instance, if you're monitoring job queues, jobs, subsystems, and so forth, you can see the status of those. You can check them from here. And then likewise, you can respond to messages from this interface. And what does that mean? That means that literally on your mobile device, on your iPhone, Android phone, tablet, etc., you'll be able to manage those messages and create dashboards. So if you've got multiple products supported in this interface, for instance, the new Robot Monitor watch list information as well as Robot Console, you could build out a dashboard that looks something like this. Gives you a picture of all your partitions and all your messages, etc., in one interface. The next topic is Robot Monitor and HelpSystems Insight, and it has been implemented using a technology that we're calling a watch list. A watch list basically shows you all those systems or metrics that you're interested in seeing across your multiple partition environment. And obviously, just glancing at this, we can see where we have issues and where we may not have issues. Of course, along with this may come mobile notification. You may be getting a robot alert, for instance, to your email or text. But this gives you, for instance, in your data center, a view into the health of your system. And finally, BRMS in Insight Analytics. Insight Analytics is an analytics tool that we have built into Insight. This is the one product that does require a license fee. Insight itself does not. But BRMS is supported, especially if you're in a multi-partition environment. Let's say you have 10 partitions running BRMS saves, and you want to know what the status is across those BRMS saves for the previous day or the previous evening. You can go to a single dashboard and see the status of all that information in one place, along with volume information and those things that might be important. All right. Tom, any comments about that?
Yeah, so Insight Analytics, yes, there is a fee for it to use it with the BRMS interface, but keep in mind it can be used to access any database. So now I can use it to build out dashboards into, of course, DB2, but you could also access, Microsoft SQL Server, Oracle, other databases. It's platform independent business intelligence running in the Insight. So it's a user-based type license, so it's not too expensive to get started with it.
Gotcha. And one of the things I like to emphasize about Insight is that Insight is our mobile technology. So if you've been thinking about Robot Schedule in a mobile user interface, Insight is the way you get there. All right, and if you'd like a demo of that, I'd be happy to do that for you. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to demonstrate a little Insight right now. All right, and this is technology that we have not quite delivered yet. Insight is available, of course, but I'm going to show you some of the new stuff as well. All right, and this is a test server that I've got. This is an HTTP server supporting Insight. All right, and Insight itself is pointed back at a number of IBMI partitions. All right, so first of all, what you're looking at is a dashboard. It's a little bit of a busy dashboard, but it was designed to show you the amount of data that you could bring into a dashboard. So you can see we have 31 waiting messages. We got 250,000 total messages, 32 waiting altogether. We've got your types of messages, resource statuses. All right, so you can present data in different formats using different dashboard widgets. Okay, so that's the first thing I want to point out. Next thing I want to point out is Robot Console and all the other products that are supported in this next release. So we've got our multi-platform scheduler. Here's our deployment tool for updating Robot, PowerTech, and SQL products on IBMI. Here's Insight Analytics. Here's the watch list that we're going to talk about, and the list just continues, and it's going to get longer as well. But let's look at Robot Console. Okay, so I've got Robot Console pointed at my Academy system. All right, and I'll just click on Messages. Okay, so it looks like we have one message that a job ended abnormally. Okay, and likewise, let's go to the Resource Monitor status. So these are the statuses that I'm currently monitoring, and for instance, it says my queue batch job queue has more than 10 jobs queued up in it. All right, but it looks like, for instance, my queue programmer job queue is released. Okay, so what we can do is we can incorporate that into an Insight dashboard, and now I can get more information in one place than what I've ever been able to see before. So for instance, here's my Robot Console messages. We just saw that. We've got a job ended abnormally, and likewise down here is my resource monitoring status. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring down a green screen or a white screen, and let's do a couple of quick demos. So first of all, I'm just going to do a send message. All right, and I'm going to send a message into QSysOpera. It's just going to say hello from Academy. It's an inquiry type message. All right, so there's an inquiry message waiting for a response. If I go into my dashboard here and just refresh, you'll see, well, there's my message, hello from Academy. All right, so picture a file increment message or some message that requires your attention. You could reply to that right here. Let's do hello from Insight, and we'll send that back. All right, it says reply was sent, so you get that confirmation. And if we do a display message QSysOpera, you'll see, well, there's hello from Insight. All right. Likewise, let's take this job queue that the queue programmer job queue says released. All right, and it's passed the check. Let's put that job queue on hold. Hold job queue, queue programmer. Okay, job queue is held. And what we're going to do is, right from the dashboard, we're going to say check the status. Otherwise, it would check it automatically every 5 or 10 minutes, whatever the frequency is. Okay, and it says queue programmer is not in the expected status. All right, so now your operations staff can quickly and easily see your resource status as well as your message status. Now this particular message, this is an informational message. Okay, so if I reply to that, basically it says choose OK that you've read this message. All right, here's the job log information. I can say OK. All right, and now I've also got a message coming in from Robot Console saying that my queue programmer message queue is not released. All right, so quick demo on Insight with Console, and I hope people found that to be a little bit intriguing. All right, and if you'd like a one-on-one demo of that, I'd be more than happy to do that.
So I can answer QSOSOPER messages right from my iPad,
You can,
right?
yeah, or your Android phone in your case, Tom.
Uh,
All right, let's talk robot monitor. So we're
Android,
gonna,
better than Apple.
there you go. Oh, here we go, controversy. All right, let's talk about robot monitor. Robot monitor's been part of the robot product line for a number of years now. And just a little bit of the history. This was strictly an IBMI monitoring tool. Back in 2017, we added VIOS into the equation. More and more folks are using VIOS, which is an AIX micropartition supporting the virtualization on IBMI. Okay, so it's important to incorporate that monitoring into the equation as well. All right. Back also in 2017, we added ACS integration. So if you're using Access Client Solutions, it's required with 7.3. All right, so we're integrated with that. We've really been working on the GUI interface itself. You'll find that it's a very easy interface to use and to basically paint the picture of your system and the system health that you want to see. Okay, but one of the big drivers over the past few years has been JDBC and ODBC connections back to IBMI and SQL requests. So we've added quite a bit of SQL monitoring into the product, and now just as of April, we added a specific history that will tell you what jobs that are using CPU are using SQL are using the most CPU over time. All right, so at any particular instance in our real-time monitoring, you'll be able to tell which jobs are consuming the most CPU that are also using SQL. All right, so Robot Monitor is a real-time monitor, but of course it's keeping history. All right, so for instance, our infamous QZDA, SO, and NET JDBC type activity. Here's just a 20-minute or so time period, and you can see we had a spike. Robot Monitor sent out notification that CPU hit a spike, and now we want to drill down into that to see what happened. So at a moment's notice, you're going to get notified, and then you also have the ability to drill down. All right, so right now we've got JDBC consuming 126%. We got notification. We drill down into that activity. We can see exactly what JDBC activity is consuming CPU. All right, and with that, we can drill down into that individual job, into the work job information. We can see the SQL statement. We can see the client address, the IP address. We can even do a change or hold on the job, maybe to lower its run priority or potentially drill into the job log. Okay, so we're doing that every 30 seconds. We're looking for that activity. Now, with every 30-second increment that we're monitoring, we're also collecting the jobs that are consuming top CPU, top disk I/O, and a third set of jobs in a list that says if they're running SQL and they're consuming CPU, we also want to collect that information. Okay, so instant visibility into exactly what's going on with your system. All right, and then we've also added Power HA cluster monitoring into Robot HA. So we're able to give you the status of your Power HA nodes and cluster resource groups, CRGs. Instant notification if something goes down, if something's not available, and of course, visual notification as well. All right, you ready for this, Tom? Doug, you ready?
I'm ready for this live
I'm ready.
demo.
Yeah.
Do you mind if
Okay,
I cause a problem on the system while you're doing the demo?
you can do that, but let's stay focused here for a second. All
Okay.
right. So first of all, this is Robot Monitor. This is a Robot Monitor graphical interface. The data that supports this is all on IBMI and DB2. The GUI interface is for the dashboard technology and for the drill down and so forth. So I've got a number of dashboards here that will display information depending on what you want to see. So for instance, here's more of a CPW related dashboard. Here's my production dashboard that shows things like CPU, batch CPU, disk percent full across multiple partitions. Okay, these are partitions that I'm particularly interested in. Exceeded thresholds down here, we've got, for instance, CPU utilization over the past few hours. All right, looks like we've got a little bit of a spike going on here on my wisdom system. All right, so we could easily drill into that right now. All right, and we could see the Tom Huntington spike that he just put into place. All right, so Tom executed an SQL statement, obviously. Here's his IP address. We got him nailed. And, you know, I might even want to change his job, put his job on hold, release it, or potentially end it. And I could also drill into the job log. All right. Good job, Tom. That was well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Can you end my job now?
I could, but I'll let you do that.
Okay.
So along with being able to get real-time notification of things like that, we're also keeping track of, at any point in time, those jobs that are consuming CPU or disk I/O. So if I need to go back in time, a few hours, a few days, a few weeks, I can drill down into that. All right, and I can see those jobs that are consuming CPU. And then the recent enhancement was jobs that are running SQL, internal or via JDBC or ODBC request, all right, that are also consuming CPU. Okay, so it's a separate list. We have 3 lists that we maintain: high disk I/O, high CPU, and then high CPU that are using SQL. Okay, back to my production dashboard. Now let's talk a little bit about PowerHA. PowerHA is more of a hardware-based sector-level disk replication tool. Okay, and we are the folks who are forwarding this technology. PowerHA is a product that we developed for IBM. And we added some PowerHA monitoring into Robot Monitor. All right, and actually this is a dashboard that has both Robot HA monitoring for my Robot HA pair, Academy and Wisdom, and then down below here you'll see my PowerHA pair, Able and Elba. All right, so what we're doing is we're monitoring the node status and the cluster status, as well as the CRG, the cluster resource group. And if you're familiar with PowerHA, that should be familiar to you. Okay, so I'm going to do a couple of things. I'm going to end my one of my node systems here, the Elba system. It's actually my target system. All right, and it'll take just a second, and you're going to see that shown in our real-time monitoring dashboard. Okay, so I'm ending the cluster. All right, my Robot H, or my it's called PowerHA demo is our cluster. All right, so I'm going to move that aside. The dashboard updates about every 30 seconds. There we go, our real-time monitoring. All right, and likewise, if I start it back up, you're going to see that represented. All right.
Classic thing on this, Chuck, is don't try this at home, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah, this is a test server. And then in terms of just turning off the replication process, you can see we're all back and healthy. Let's just turn off the replication process from my production system, and it looks like this. All right, so I'm going to make that happen. I'm suspending the replication between my production system and my target system. That'll take just a second. Now, Tom, you've been working more than a little bit with PowerHA and Robot HA combination, correct?
Correct, I have, yep. We definitely have, in this environment, we have Robot HA replicating data out of the IaaS to another partition. We have Robot HA running in sys-based, replicating some things that maybe weren't put into the independent auxiliary storage pool.
Okay.
Definitely doing that.
All right. All right, I've stopped the replication. Let's see
Chuck,
if we can. Yeah, go for it.
Can I ask a question? I have a lot of customers that like kind of a stoplight approach, like green good, yellow warning, red bad. Can you change those colors, those status colors that are you know, popping up there, are those changeable for whatever, you know, colors people like?
Yeah, great question. So they absolutely are user modifiable, okay? We've got some defaults here. They can also be user defined. All right, so if I want to maybe make that a pink color, for instance, I don't know why I'd want to do that, but I could. And as far as the icons go, yep, you can change those as well. Yeah, that's a good question. So, yep, we're down. So at this
And if,
point, we'd be sending out notification and somebody would be taking action.
and if you're colorblind, we do have audible type sounds in there too, right?
Right. All right, that's enough of me. I think it's time to turn it over to Doug. So, Doug, I'm going to make you the presenter.
All right.
Hang on one second.
All right.
All right, there you
Show
go.
my screen. All right. We go over to PowerPoint. We'll slide current slide, and here we go. And let me just change my display. All right. So let's talk about Performance Navigator. It's obviously I've been using the product for, gosh, 20 years now. And one of the things, and I'll say this about Help too, I'm really proud of all of us for, you know, we don't rest on our laurels. You know, I think when I started with the product, it was like version 3, and now we're version 19. And I know the same thing at HelpSystems. We do take a lot of pride in making these products better. And I'll tell you, Chuck, great job on the Monitor and Insight. I think that Insight product, I'm new to it myself. I think it's ridiculously cool. So well done. Good job. So let's talk about Performance Navigator. And again, it's new to robot portfolio, but just real quickly, you know, it's all platforms. It was started out as a capacity planning tool back in the day. And one of the things that we've done with the product over many years is we've turned it from a, you know, the beauty of the product is the historical data, you know, the power of historical data. I teach it all over the world. That performance movie that's on all the time, it's so critical for all of us sysadmins. So, you know, when you have that kind of data, you can do capacity planning, you can do problem determination, and this whole power analytics section, we're not going to go into it today. We'll show some new functionality, but just to remind everybody, I have customers that literally have bought the product for this menu alone, and I'll show you a couple of screenshots in a second, but the ability to manage reporting, whether you're at an enterprise or an LPAR level, disk library, IFS analysis, I go into customer sites and they solve, why is my disk growing in under 5 minutes? It's just, it's so amazing to, you know, it's fun for me because I get the wow moment as I'm teaching it all over the world, but it's just fun. Memory analysis, when we look at different pools, you look at performance adjuster, people don't even realize that you can analyze what performance adjuster is doing. So the product does that. Tom brought up a great, and Chuck, before we started, about 7.4 and Power 9 upgrades. Don't forget that you can do powerful before versus after analysis in the product. When you go to 7.4, we can't assume everything's okay. I did a webinar a couple weeks ago when a customer, I actually did it at Common, where a customer went to a new, they went to 7.3 and a crit set happened after an OS upgrade. I mean, you never think that would happen, so you can't assume. So use before versus after analysis to understand the impact when we make major changes to our LPARs and the like. And people don't realize we've got an entire suite of job analysis graphs and scripts. I go to customers all over the world where I teach their application teams. Imagine a QA environment where they make major changes to an application, and again, we don't assume everything's okay. We can actually measure before and after, and we can see how much sync IO, is now out there and so forth. And again, it's used all over the world, 1,000 data centers. And I like to say, and I say this as an ex-customer, and I know I'm supposed to say that, but I'm going to say this as a guy that was in the trenches a long time. My service levels went from good to impeccable because there was no more guessing, no more having a feeling. I knew exactly what was going on in my environment. All right, so again, just a couple of screenshots where here's some capacity planning graphs, and here's an example of before versus after. I don't want to spend a lot of time on that because I want to show you all the fun new stuff. But look at the level you can get to where you look at your entire enterprise, or you look at this where we made a change before and after, and this is what I was talking about before, what you can do. All right, so I love what Chuck did because I think history is important. And when I think of the history of Performance Navigator, and I'm really dating myself here, but back in the old days, when I first started using the product, JPEGs, when we did report sets, we could say, well, I'm going to run, let me look at CPU, let me look at disk, let me look at memory. JPEGs were the only output. And I remember copying JPEGs and data into my own reporting. And here's an example where, when I worked at Boise Cascade a long time ago, I copied that JPEG in, and I copied the data behind the graph, and I did this. And you can see over here, a customer did the same thing. So it's a really cool professional report, but there's lots of risk in doing that, right? So the neat thing what MPG did at the time, back in 2004, is Joe Camilio, I think, is one of the most brilliant guys I've ever seen. And he made PM400 for IBM like 30 years ago. He created a scripting language where you could bring up a graph and retrieve the data and save JPEGs. And I remember seeing it in 2004. And you guys all know in the product, the factory directory. Well, the reason that factory directory came up, there was a business partner in Australia, if I could say, who wanted to put reports to his customers like a factory. And it made me laugh. So this scripting language where he would bring up a graph and he'd make a JPEG and get the numbers behind the graph, and he gave it to his customer, and it worked perfectly. And I remember seeing it in 2004 going, well, wait a minute, if you can do that for one JPEG, why can't we do that for 12, 12 metrics, CPU, disk, memory, and so forth? So over the, when you think of this history, over 16 years, we created 150 scripts. And these range from small scripts, maybe 100 lines of code, to some scripts with thousands and thousands of lines of code. These are little programs built into the product where, and like I said, customers use this functionality just to manage their whole environment. And in other words, it's not just a capacity planning tool. So when you look at this here, you can see this robust functionality that was created over many years, whether you're doing reporting, disk analysis, power or memory analysis. There's that cool before, that should be a before versus after, but you get the point, right? Very, very powerful functionality. Now, that's the good news and the bad news, right? The good news is we've got thousands of reports. The bad news is we've got thousands of reports. So think of all that HTML output. So when you run a script, the output, and a lot of our customers know this, it's HTML that you can put on your website, or you can print it out like a PDF. But what we do today, before version 19.1c, is we would run it, and we would just go out there and click on whatever report we wanted. And by the way, that works for a lot of us. And we've also, just to show you with the history, that we also had a look and feel that, this was kind of our dark blue and our logo, and you can see this very, very structured, professional look and feel that we've had over the years. What we're going to see, what you're going to see in the demo here, is we now in 19.1 have this enterprise reporting dashboard. And that's a fancy way to say, hey, when we have all this output, we're going to give you a way to find it easily. And here's the amazing news. And by the way, I said this in the last webinar I was in. I demoed this in Common in Anaheim, and people came up to the booth. I don't care if it was customers, business partners, IBMers, did not matter. When they saw what we did in this version, it was a jaw-dropping experience. People were like, no way. So here's what's happening, is we now give you the ability to brand the product to look like your company logo and colors. So when I was at Boise Cascade Office Products, I could show my output, and the cool robot colors are neat, right? The blue is awesome, and it does look very professional. But imagine it, when I was at Boise Cascade, I had my Boise logo and the green, and when my CIO and my management or my internal customers were looking at performance graphs, it looked like our company. So what you're going to be able to do, just like I showed you in that first slide, you're going to be able to brand it. You're going to be able to go into your LPARs and define what report you see for each LPAR. Think of that. You have a production LPAR. You might have different graphs or reports than you would for a development, like QA. So you can do that. You can actually define your data centers. You have like a data center view. And then we call it creating the framework. So when you want to see this output, you literally go in this flow where you brand it, select the reports, data centers, and do this. And by the way, this process I did at a very, very big company about a month ago when I taught them. I watched a person, and it's all nervous when you have this new functionality. And I watched a person in class set up the entire framework in 5 minutes for 20 LPARs. It was like, and it was again the wow moment for everybody. They're like, no way. So anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to show you, and I'll take you through some screenshots and then I'll do it live. But this is what's going to happen when you brand. We come up with this default screen where you're going to change the logo, the header, and the button. And then when it's done, you can view it. And here's one that Chuck did the other day. I'm applauding Chuck. Well done. Look at how cool this is. On this LPAR, he said, I want to look at all these reports, and he put his own logo in there. And by the way, I know Chuck, he's good at it. He did this whole thing in under 5 minutes. So let me do kind of a live demo for you, and then I'll give it back to Chuck. But really quick, really easy. All right. So if I go in here, and I'm Doug, and by the way, I went to a company, Fidelity Express. I was at a problem determination for them the other day, and they gave me permission to use their logo because they loved it. They're so much. So I'm going to use them as an example. So watch this. If I go into, I'm going to go into my we call it ERD, right? Enterprise Reporting Dashboard, and I want to brand. So first time, watch this. Hopefully Murphy's Law won't come up, but basically it says, hey, you're gonna do your current branding. You're gonna see what you're set up right now, and you can see. Oh, don't you love it when a demo works? Knock on wood, right? So there's my look. There's my current look and feel. So watch how cool this is. I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna say, okay, I'm gonna go in and put in my logo, and I'm gonna go to my logos. And you can see I've tested a lot, but I'm going to go into good old Fidelity, and I'm going to say OK, and watch that. Boom, logo's in there. So now I'm going to go and say, do you have more branding? You bet I do. I'm going to change the header colors. Now, again, you're going to have your own customer, the exact colors of your company look and feel, but I'm just going to do this in the fly. And I'm just do a little darker. Yep, look at that. It could go a little darker, but I'll leave it. And then watch this. Button, same thing. Maybe I'll slide it down, make it a little darker. Perfect, right there. Now look at that. Maybe it's too dark, but you get the point, right? You're going to go in and make it. You're mad, and this, I watch people do this in under 5 minutes. But watch this. Now, if I go back, and I'm going to say I don't have any more branding. Now, here's the beauty. Every report that you run is going to be branded to those customers. Now I did this ahead of time because you demos, you want it to be a smooth demo and for time. But watch this. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to view. I'm going to show you what I've done. So first of all, I did branding. Then I would go in here and go into my reports, and I would actually pick my LPAR, right? If I was my MPG 520p, and then you go over here, 2 separate windows, and look, and I'm doing. I said on this one I want to do a hardware summary for an enterprise, so that's the whole all LPARs. I want to maybe do a health check and a monthly report down here, right? Right there, monthly report. Very simple example. And you would save it and get out. Now, the next thing is you do your data centers. So everybody that's familiar with Performance Navigator, we've got this group concept that we've used for years and years. But look what we've done now. Now you can define your data centers and what serial numbers are in each data center. Same look and feel from what we've done for job analysis for years. And then the last thing we've done is we create the framework. And again, I've already created it, so I won't run it. So watch this. Here's my view. Oh, look at that. How professional does that look? And by the way, really, really cool. You can see I've gone in, I've selected all my LPARs. And just to show you, there's my production box. If I go in here, I said I was going to do a health check and manage reporting. And by the way, I go back to my frames view, I could toggle over to my data center view. How neat is that? And if you go and you want to look at enterprise reporting, remember my hardware summary, watch this. I can go in here and there's my new, there's my totals for my hardware. By the way, I take this into every meeting I ever went to when I was tech support manager, because in a virtualized world, we got to know how resources are carved up and how individual LPARs are carved up. but you get the point. This very, very cool enterprise reporting dashboard allows you to go in here and go in and now have individual LPAR reports based on your need. And watch this. There's my health check, and there's my management, my monthly reporting. And again, what you guys will see now is we are now whatever report you run will match your logo colors, and I just think very, very cool. And like I said, the reaction was jaw-dropping at comment. That's it, guys. Back to you.
Awesome. Awesome. Tell you what, I'm going to take back presenter control. All right, Tom.
Well, thank you, Doug, for all that. Education and professional services. One of the things we've been doing a lot of over the years is robot health checks. So if somebody out there is feeling like they're not getting enough out of robot, let's have a little discussion around how are you using it. Of course, we do live and online training, and Mr. Doug can do these capacity planning services for you too. So he can train you on the product, but he can also take a look at your data. Another conversation we've started probably 3-4 years ago with our customers is a HelpSystems tech update discussion. Call it a roadmap discussion, call it a tech update, but it's a great time to get together with somebody like myself, Chuck, Doug, and others and talk about what's on your roadmap, look at recent updates, and very customized to your environment and to your team. And we really get a lot of great reviews on these. We encourage our customers to have one of these once a year, especially if you're a larger customer. We really appreciate having that discussion with you. And so in the overall theme of things, today we've talked about enhanced Power HA support, Insight integration. On the roadmaps, we talk a lot about flexible licensing. We do have a strategic account program which works really well, especially for our larger Power IBMI customers. Today we saw the HelpSystems integration that's coming for Robot Council, some Power HA monitoring coming in, and then also on the roadmap we're also looking at Robot Monitor and Insight, and that should be out there as Chuck has showed too. So we got a lot going on to help make your life easier. Let's hit them up with our last polling question here, Chuck.
Yeah, so the question is, of course, how can we help you? And we have some specific questions for you. So do you want to connect on a tech update conversation, maybe an Insight demo with yours truly or Tom perhaps? Certainly if you'd like to trial a Robot Monitor or Performance Navigator, we'd be happy to help you with that. Capacity planning services, we got a lot of folks upgrading from Power 7 and Power 8 into Power 9, and of course professional services, education, that is always a hot topic. Make sure your folks know the best options to use in our various robot tools to get the most out of the product. And while we're doing that, Tom, Q&A.
Q&A. Well, we have one of the questions out there is, will Insight run on IBMI, or where, I guess you may have rushed over it a little bit, but where does the Insight server technology run?
All right, well, I can take that, and the Insight technology runs in Windows or Linux, and yes, it could run on Linux and Power. All right,
yeah,
so
it doesn't run on IBMI, and
native.
I don't look for us. Yeah, I don't look for us to do that. So you're gonna have to bite the bullet. Either spin up a Linux partition on your IBMI Power server, because you certainly can do that, or you're gonna have to jump on a Windows server and do it that way.
Yeah. And
so Chuck, one of the questions that I often hear from customers, what's the difference? Doug did a great job of showing Performance Navigator. You did a great job of Robot Monitor. It's almost like, tastes great, less filling kind of conversation. What route should people go?
Absolutely, I'd say the differences between the two products are that Performance Navigator is more of a forensics tool. Here's what happened. Here's a lot of reporting that's available. We'll use that to help analyze the situation, and you have the added benefit of the capacity planning functionality in the product. Robot Monitor, if you're looking for more real-time monitoring, if you're looking for more of a real-time dashboard that also collects historical information that's highly customizable to your workload, that's Robot Monitor. Doug, any comments?
No, I think that's perfect. I actually think if I was running my shop today, I would bundle those two, because I think Performance Navigator never wanted to be a real-time monitor. You guys are the strength there, or we're the strength there, I should say. So you have, here's what's happening right now, and then if you need to look at things, man, what happened yesterday between 4 and 2, that's where we can go in and take it to a different level.
Yeah, exactly. Well, everybody, that is a wrap for today's webinar. We really appreciate your time today. Tom, Doug, appreciate you joining me for today's webinar. Hope everybody has a great rest of your summer, and looking forward to having you on a future webinar here with Help Systems.
We have a lot coming up. Don't forget about upgrading IBMI 7.4 in August, peeling back from that, the systems admin, the Insight IBMI is not AS400 with Steve Will, and upgrading to Power 9 the right way. Those are all coming up to you, and we'll talk to you all soon.
All right.
Thanks,
Adios,
everybody.
everybody. Bye-bye.